How are y'all?
Good, man. All right, guys. We'll finish up with senior pitcher Will Heflin. We'll start with Ben McKee.
Well, who are the leaders on this baseball team?
That's a good question. We got a lot of leaders, different ages, different positions. Um, One thing we really believe in is that it really doesn't matter how old you are, or who you are. You could be the best player on the team or just a guy who um, is on the roster and a part of the family. But if you lead by example, then you're a leader, and that's just plain and simple. So you guys just talked to Jake Rucker. He's a great example of lead by example, and he's definitely one of our leaders. I see myself as a leader. I'm one of the more vocal guys in the locker room. Got experience, so that definitely helps. And then guys like Luke Lipsius, who are just they kind of have that vibe about them. They're always just in a good mood, and it seems to rub off on other guys. So those are some of the leaders I think of off the top of my head.
All right, next we'll go to Gustavo and then Rick Russo.
Well, how do you evaluate this preseason? There's long preseason, but in terms of having the scrimmage and all, how do you evaluate the way you guys prepare leading up to the start of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that separates us, and it was talked about earlier, is that competition within our team. And when you're going against guys every day uh, that want to beat you, but are good teammates at the same time, then it's just iron sharpens iron mentality. So it's definitely been a long preseason. We played more fall scrimmages against each other than we ever have, partly because we weren't allowed to play anybody else. So instead of having that little break in between the fall season of playing another team and kind of getting a taste of a more game-like atmosphere, you're just rolling right along playing each other. And then you get back from Christmas break and it's kind of a little bit of the same medicine. So it gets a little monotonous. There's no sugarcoating that, but the coaches really do a really good job of having incentives. Certain weekends in the fall we would play for a nice meal, or last weekend we played for pizza. When we were really spread out back in the fall, we'd play for the locker room because only several guys could be in there at the same time. So that's kind of the way they kept it interesting and kept it from getting too monotonous. But it's definitely a grind. I mean, you're sitting here lying if you're saying you'd rather play each other than playing another team. So, and you guys know we can really hit. So as a pitcher, even good teams in our league, I'm really excited to see somebody with a different jersey step in the box.
Will, how impressed are you with this pitching staff, and how versatile is this staff?
Oh, I'm very impressed, and we're extremely versatile. You can't replace a Garrett Crochet. But the good news for us is nobody else can either. So we're really deep, and we may not have that frontline guy who's just a surefire first rounder, but we have a lot of guys that could really do well for themselves this season and make some money in the draft and get individual accolades and go early. And so I think it's definitely going to be a team effort. And Jake talked about Blade Tidwell and Fitzgibbons and some other of those young guys like Will Mabry and Kirby Cannell, who are still considered freshmen. Drew Gilbert, that were here last year, have got to step up and make contributions. And then the old guys, like myself and Sean Hunley and Elijah Pleasance, who have been here and been around, we got to kind of grab the horse by the reins and just get off to a good start in terms of being on the mound and competing. And I think it's going to go really well. And we're extremely versatile. We got guys that can do all kinds of different roles. And, Coach V is one of the best in the business at mixing and matching and giving opportunities. So that's never, a worry going into the season. Is like, oh, am I going to get an opportunity? You're going to get an opportunity. You just have to run with it. And it kind of narrows down as we go. But we're extremely versatile.
All right, we'll go to Troy and then Ryan and then Mike.
Well, somebody who pitched in that regional 2 years ago, pitched pretty well, and obviously had that kind of opportunity taken away from you last year. I guess how hungry are you and the rest of the team to kind of get back to that point? And is that kind of the expectation y'all kind of view for the season?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. And for me, take it a step further, tear your ACL in the fall and didn't even get, that appetizer of a season last year. I think I was probably a week and a half, 2 weeks away from getting back on the mound in a midweek game last year when the season got canceled. So that left a bitter taste, but at the same time, turned it around into a positive, gave me extra time to get healthy, could really focus on me. You know, Jake talked about going to this facility in his hometown during quarantine. I was lucky enough to have guys like Sean Hunley and Chase Wallace, who's with the Royals now, to kind of be around every day for 4 months and really have nothing to do but just to work on ourselves. So we would go work out, we would throw, we'd shoot a little basketball to try to stay in shape. And you know, that was a time where you kind of really got to self-evaluate and be a little selfish, because when you're here and in practice mode all the time, you know, it's definitely a team environment and you want to work on yourself every day. But when, you know, that's all you got going on, you can really hone in on some of your weaknesses and sharpen your strengths.
You guys made a pretty big power jump a year ago. I think hit the second most home runs in the country before the season ended. Pitching against this lineup every day, do you see that trend continuing into this season?
You know, I do see that trend continue. We hit a lot of home runs in the fall. We hit a lot of home runs in that early part last spring. And, you know, everybody likes to give Coach Q a lot of credit, and he absolutely deserves it. But Coach Elander deserves a lot too, for getting these swings honed in. And then the guys themselves, they put in the work. You know, they're in the cage all the time. They have really good approaches at the plate. If you throw them a strike, they're going to hammer it. And if you try to get them to chase, then they're really good at laying off of it. So, you know, we got a really tenacious lineup. It's not just a bunch of guys who are going up there to hit the long ball, you know, because I think you would see our strikeout numbers be really high in that case. But they do a really good job of getting on base and doing team at bats and stuff like that. And I think the home runs are just a result of having a good approach and hitting the ball hard.
Yeah, Will, how's everything with you physically? I feel like you said you were back from the injury kind of when everything was about to shut down. And then what has changed with Elijah Pleasance? Why is he kind of come into his own going into this season?
Yeah, so let me touch on Elijah first. He just has a different demeanor. He's always had really good stuff. He's a freak athlete. He runs like a deer. He's got a whippy arm. He's always had good stuff. I think he's just a mature pitcher now. And it's not, you know, he wasn't that far off beforehand. He was always talented, and he was about to pitch and help us out last year. Unfortunately, he didn't get to show that, but he's just a guy who it's always kind of been there, and he's always been really close. And I don't know what it was for him. Maybe it was just him relaxing a little bit and getting a little more confidence, but he just kind of turned the page, man. And, you know, when you go out there and you're relaxed and you can just let yourself compete and let your talents take over and all the work you put in, and the hay's kind of already in the barn and he's just letting that out. In terms of me, body's healthy, knee feels as good as it's going to feel. Arm is back in shape. You know, when we got back in the fall, everybody kind of had to get their arm back in that live shape. So I didn't really come back in any kind of hole or deficit. So it's really just been about sharpening back up and getting ready for the season.
All right, we'll go back to Ben.
Well, I've got two for you. What do you envision your role on this pitching staff being, and what makes Fitzgibbons so good as a freshman? I know Jake mentioned that he had fantastic stuff, but could you expand on that?
He does. He's got a really whippy arm. Being left-handed does not hurt. I know that from experience, but he spins his breaking ball really hard. They talk about spin rate all the time, and he's got a high spin rate, and he fills up the zone. He's just kind of a little competitor out there, and you know, he doesn't really pitch like a freshman. He goes right at people. He knows his stuff is good, and he's just a good pitcher, plain and simple. In terms of my role, I could see myself doing a number of different things. I think early on, my first couple opportunities will definitely be somewhere in the middle of the game, hopefully like a first out of the pen type thing or a bridge type guy. But what's really nice is a couple guys we have on our staff, I think I complement really well. Like Bladen Tidwell is a big, hard-throwing righty. Jackson Leaf, big, hard-throwing righty. Sean Hunley gets a lot of swings and misses on his fastball. And then I could come in and be that change of pace and be able to get guys out by mixing and matching and locating my stuff and really just competing as hard as I can compete to get guys out. And, you know, that's one of the other reasons we're so versatile, is because we got pitchers with all kinds of abilities and different ways to go about their day.
All right, we'll do one more. We'll finish up with Ryan Shumpert.
Yeah, I know you went through senior day in 2019 and you weren't really sure if you were going to come back. Just did you ever expect to spring of 2021 to still be at UT, and what's this kind of crazy experience been like?
Yeah, so I actually went through senior day as a junior. They do it based off your school year, and I was able to graduate my undergrad in 3 years. So that's why I went ahead and did senior day that year. And then last year was supposed to be my true senior day, and I didn't think I would be back this year. But you can raise your hand if you predicted a global pandemic. So, but no, I'm extremely thankful to be back, and this is the path I'm on right now. And one thing I like to say is that everybody, takes a different path. And if you put a bag of popcorn in the microwave, all the same size, and put the same heat on all of them, they pop at different times. So, I'm more than thankful to be here. This place is home to me, and it's been an incredible piece of my life, and a story that I'll have forever, and experiences that I'll have forever, and friendships that I'll have forever. So, I couldn't be more excited and more hopeful for this season. Not just for me personally, but everybody on this team. I really love seeing other guys have success, and I think when you go into it with an attitude like that, then you're more likely to have success.
Awesome. All right. Appreciate your time, Will. Thanks, guys. That'll do it for today's media availability. Just